Would you pay $20,000 for a PowerPoint presentation? No? Well, let me change your mind. When you think of education, you normally think of 12 years of school, or a 4-year bachelor's degree, or maybe a few years of postgraduate studies, like a master's or a PhD. These are normally kind of expensive, and college education especially has been getting more and more pricey for a lot of people, starting this massive debate about if getting a college education is even worth it these days. But what if I told you there's a way for you to spend even more money than a college degree, receive less content, and absolutely get no professional value out of it? And no, I'm not talking about Ninja's pathetic masterclass on streaming. I'm talking about executive education. This title, executive education, to me seems like a bit of an oxymoron. Isn't it understood that executives are already educated? I thought the whole point of paying $250,000 for an MBA was so that you wouldn't need more of an education. But wait, executive education isn't like your normal classroom education. No. Normal higher education teaches you the basics and gives you essential knowledge about the field that you work in. If, for example, you enrolled in a degree for physics, then conventional colleges will teach you boring, mundane things like calculus and algebra, or things that will explain the foundational elements of scientific thinking. But who the fuck has time for that shit? Executive education does away with any and all foundational concepts and instead focuses on abstract things like upskilling, development, and the most saturated topic in all of business, networking. Just look at this list of benefits of executive education laid out by the Stanford Graduate School of Business. Makes me definitely want to go, because by enrolling in executive education, you can gain a new perspective, rethink what you thought was possible all over again, make lifelong network connections, break out of old well-worn networks, and meet a new world of thinkers and innovators, just like you, or unlike you. Learn valuable skills. Executive education puts a rich tapestry of knowledge and know-how at your fingertips. Sounds enticing, doesn't it? But what's even more enticing is the price you pay for this. Right now, there are 6 well-known institutions that offer these kinds of programs. There's IMD in Switzerland, Harvard Business School, Wharton, Stanford, and MIT Sloan in the US, INSEAD in France, and London Business School in the UK. Now, let's take Harvard as an example. Their most popular executive education program is the Advanced Management Program, or AMP. It costs $82,000 and lasts a little over 6 weeks. That is over $13,500 a week, where all you'll be taught is the most generic bullshit that the world has ever seen. Classes cover topics like vision setting, effective decision making, and time management. You'll also be privy to outdated business case studies, the kind that have been picked apart by every professor Tom, Dick, and Harry and posted on YouTube as a sort of ersatz TED Talk. And finally, you'll also have the opportunity to network with other like-minded people, such as middle managers who can't get promoted, entrepreneurs who think their B2B sales software as a service business is just lacking some time management skills, as well as the occasional Nepo baby who didn't want to get a college degree, but their father needed them to get some sort of credibility, so they sent them here instead. And trust me, it only gets worse from there. Take IMD's High Performance Leadership Program, $16,300 for 5 days. Or Wharton's Executive Development Program, $25,000 for 2 weeks. And I know for a fact that none of that shit is worth anything because of this one word salad answer from a participant from one of these IMD programs.
It's a fantastic experience. The professors are great, bring very practical and inspiring cases, and that gives the opportunity to discuss very interactively in the class. This is very nice because this allows experience sharing within the participants. What is great really is to see that many of the questions I had are actually shared by many of the other participants, and this is a way to reduce stress.
What?
This is a way to reduce stress.
Reduce stress? You paid $20,000 for a PowerPoint presentation to reduce stress? My guy, have you ever tried taking a fucking vacation? The obvious question that might come to your mind as you're watching this is why? Why would anyone want to give any of these places these insane amounts of money? Well, it's because these places rely on two things: brand value and the fear of missing out. When a corporate recruiter or someone looking for executive talent goes through LinkedIn and they see two of the exact same profiles in terms of experience, skills, and tenure, the belief that these institutions want you to have is that having their school's logo plastered on the bottom left corner of that recruiter screen will somehow give you a boost in credibility as a candidate, as if spending 6 days in a dimly lit auditorium has turned you into the next Peter Thiel. The most ridiculous aspect of this is how people will literally pay for this nonsense so that they can write ex-Harvard or ex-MIT on their bios. And what they don't seem to understand is that this is not differentiating them, it's just making them more annoying. Look at it this way. When you eat something, it goes through your digestive system and eventually turns into shit. Now, it doesn't matter if you ate pizza or a salad, it's all going to look the same coming out of your digestive system, even if at the end of it you stick a little placard in each piece with the words ex-pizza or ex-salad, right? These companies and schools have managed to hoodwink a massive chunk of the corporate population into believing that not having these credentials is like the equivalent of being at the bottom of India's caste system. And by not being part of this elite 2-week graduate club, you are somehow less worthy of top-level positions. But any C-suite leader who isn't a complete douchebag with their own heads up their ass will tell you that these programs mean jack shit. And the real way to climb to the corporate ladder is to be A, somewhat good at your job, and B, pretty fucking excellent in office politics. Or just playing the corporate game. Because at the end of the day, all of this is just one big popularity contest anyway. And the winners are going to be those people that are more liked by the bigwigs at the top. The only party that really benefits from this are the schools. They have insane profit margins because the actual cost of making and running these programs when compared to the money they bring in is unbelievably low. And most of the so-called expenses are basically just logistics and staffing costs, while the actual costs associated to learning are practically non-existent. Just look at IMD's annual report from 2022. Only 29% of the costs are direct program costs, while everything else is basically admin and staffing related. What's even worse is that these expensive programs aren't always on site. No, you actually end up paying that kind of money for a fully online experience. Wow! Isn't it an absolute bargain? 47% of the school's revenue that year came from this online-only crap. What the actual fuck? Additionally, content is extremely recyclable because you're not actually being taught foundational constructs like math, physics, or chemistry. The stuff that a strategy professor teaches can be reworded and simply retaught by a leadership professor in another class. Even the research these places put out is all theoretical nonsense that would never realistically apply in the world, because it's all based on an ideal world scenario. And let's face it, the majority of the people who are attending these schools aren't reading research. They probably skim through Harvard Business Review every couple of months so that they can pretend they impress their CFO by talking about the most banal topical shit that's going on. This isn't to say that these programs have absolutely no value for anyone. If you're the CEO of a Fortune 500 company and you're part of a class with other Fortune 500 CEOs, sure, it makes sense to speak to these people and learn from them. But if you're the average middle manager Mo, then what the fuck are you here for anyway? To learn more middle management techniques from other middle managers? Malcolm in the Middle? The funniest thing is that many of the topics you cover are available for a much lower price point online. Heck, Harvard and MIT offer some of the same content from these programs for free. And you can find a lot of this stuff covered on Coursera or Udemy anyway. So to me, this cycle of education only serves to churn out certificates that don't actually mean anything for people who don't want them, so that the business that these people work for can claim they have the largest number of Harvard grads working for them in the world. And finally, they do something that the hustle bro course sellers do as well, which is that they'll advertise the program to include some really in-demand teacher, like Albert Einstein or Robert Oppenheimer. While in reality, the star tutor only really appears for like a day out of the 6 days total. So, before you go and pay $69,000 in order to pretend to have friends at work or act like an idiot in a CEO simulation, maybe think about getting a life and a personality too? What do you think? Are these courses a scam, or do they have real value? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe for more money mysteries.